We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet to share these conversations on the Vegan Compass podcast.
We extend our respect to elders past and present, as well as any of our listeners and guests. Hello and welcome to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change. We are your hosts, Rick Allport and Mackenzie Cross.
From wherever you're listening, please be sure to like and subscribe to support this podcast. Now to the episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Vegan Compass podcast. We're so excited to have you with us today. This is our last episode of season 2, so we'll be taking a break in January and February in 2026 as we get ready for the Animal Rights Forum. But yeah, how are you going today, Rick?
I am very well. I'd like to say thank you for a very delicious dinner tonight.
No problem.
And yeah, we're doing an evening one again, which I'm really happy about. And I'm also really happy because we have our guest here with us in our little podcast studio. And we were going to actually finish up on our last episode, which was going to be Andre. He was going to be our last episode for season 2. However, we managed to get tonight's guest and we just went, no, this one has to be the end, the last of season 2, because we wanted to finish on a very strong activism and interesting, not saying Andre wasn't interesting, it was very interesting, but interesting activism side.
Yeah.
So, brings me to my first question. Sophie, who are you and what do you do?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me, because I do love your podcast. I do listen to it. So it's such an honour to be here. I'm really, really grateful. Yeah, my name's Sophie. I am a animal rights activist in Sydney, and I am also a cat mum. I'm a mouse grandmother.
I like the fact that you're a mouse grandmother.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like I've never heard that before, and I think I would like to be a mouse grandfather.
Yeah, it's because I go to say mouse mum, but because I actually have the mothers and they have their babies, I don't want to take that away from them. So yeah, we have 2 mothers and I think 19 babies or something like that. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, rescued from a hoarder situation. There was actually 650 of them in the one home, and they've gone out to all different activists all over Australia. So, yeah.
I'm so glad that they have homes now, because that sounds traumatic, and obviously mice and rats are animals that often get overlooked. So I'm very glad to hear they have a nice home with you.
Yeah, oh, they're beautiful.
I'm sort of a bit gobsmacked about 600. Like that's just an insane amount of people. But I guess on a hoarding situation, they don't know.
Yeah,
it is a bit of a sickness, the hoarding. Situation.
Yeah, he didn't. The person, I don't think, realised that what he was doing was not okay.
Yeah.
We're just really lucky that the activists were able to get them out, and because there's so many of them needed to be desexed as well, because they breed like crazy. That kind of situation with mice can get out of hand really fast if you're not.
I think with 600, that's
understandable.
Pretty out of hand.
Yeah.
So you are an animal activist, and that journey kind of started for you in 2017, I believe, with street activism. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of your journey?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You've done your research down to the correct year. So I went vegan 11 years ago, and once I learned, I was vegetarian on and off my whole life for the animals, but I didn't know what was happening in the egg and dairy industry and the makeup industry, all of the other ways that we exploit animals. And I think I first came across street activism on Facebook from joining vegan groups online, more like diet based. And then I started adding people on as friends on Facebook, and then I started seeing that activism existed. The Cube of Truth, I think, was the first thing that I went to. And from there, I got exposed to even more forms of activism, and just kind of, I think the street outreach, I did do that for a couple of years. It's not something I think I could go back to. I think it's actually a really difficult form of activism, but it's definitely opened the door to get me to the place that I'm at today, and I'll always be really thankful.
Yeah, you did street activism and obviously did it very well, but what made you transition and get involved into the farm and slaughterhouse investigations? Because that's quite a leap from talking to humans to witnessing the horrors of what's going on.
Yeah. It's something that I was exposed to and started seeing other people doing online, and it just really spoke to me. And I had started doing vigils first after street activism, knowing that I wanted to eventually start doing rescues and investigations. I felt like attending some vigils was kind of like a good stepping stone to see how I would feel in such, like, seeing animals go into these slaughterhouses on trucks. I think it was a good sort of warm up into the even more difficult things actually being in the farms. I just was very drawn to that and wanting to do rescues. Rescues is where I started. Not even investigations. It was more about wanting to go in and save animals. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about like the planning, the recon, everything that happens behind the scenes? Because you don't obviously just turn up at a farm and, decide to rescue animals. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So depending on what we're doing will change the kind of prep that we have to do for the project. So if we're just doing a rescue and I know somewhere that's not too far away, I simply will just look up that place or places with that animal that are near us, and we will go. And obviously we've got tools and equipment and gear and things that help us to do this. It just is us going and doing the rescue, filming while we're there and leaving. If it is a longer investigation, it can take weeks and weeks of going there, of recon, of getting footage over time. Slaughterhouse investigations, obviously there's the installing side of things, and then with my own projects, the videos that I make, I actually think about the music that I'm going to put with it, the things that I'm going to say, the story that I'm trying to tell, and I'll actually write like a film treatment for it. I know what comes out is just little reels, but a lot of thought goes into it leading up to actually going and doing the rescue and investigation. So it really just depends on where we're going and what the reason is for, how much work goes into prepping for it. But it is a lot.
Well, I think it was something that I was thinking about when you were talking about the preparation and what you do to go in. And of course, the majority of activists who do this sort of stuff will go in like full biohazard suits, and they're very careful. And this is what people don't understand. It is very well planned out. Mm-hmm. But in one that I was part of, everyone's in biohazard suits. Yeah. And as we were leaving, we saw workers coming in, and they were in thongs and shorts and a singlet, and they were smoking cigarettes as they were going into this place that's supposedly, pure and, you need to be completely biohazard and everything. And there they were, and not suited up at all. It was really horrible.
Exactly.
So and this, I think the public needs to know that activists who go in actually do take a lot of care.
Yeah.
But it sort of brings me to something interesting, and I think you may agree with me that we could have the Australian Joanne MacArthur sitting on the other side of the table here, because we interviewed Jo, and we love Jo, and she does amazing stuff, but I've seen your work and I put you up there with Jo.
Aww.
So, you've done incredible stuff, but it's one thing to actually see the footage, but it's actually entirely different capturing it, and I know this. So can you tell us what it's like to actually be capturing that footage and seeing it right there in your face?
Yeah, it depends. When I go into a place and I am filming, I usually go just completely numb, and I go into, I don't know if business mode is the right word to describe it, but I'm there, I'm filming, and I'm okay. It's not until I take a moment to sit down and connect with an animal that really, when I kind of lose it and the tears start coming out. Also, it's very interesting, I find if I'm doing work for someone else, if I'm going and getting footage for somebody else's project that no one's ever gonna know I had anything to do with it, I almost find it a lot easier to separate myself from what's happening. I kind of go in there, I'm filming, and I leave. And I think that's probably a coping mechanism. And when I think having the camera between myself and the animal as well, and I'm thinking, and it sounds cold, but I'm thinking, okay, I need to capture this cruelty right now. What is going to make people realize what is happening in these places? So with when we found Jamie the rooster, he was struggling on his back, and all I want to do is just flip him over straight away, but I have to stand there and I have to film, and I have to kind of separate myself from what's happening so that I can get that story out. And then there's been times where I've gotten footage for campaigns where when I was actually taking the footage, I was very disconnected from what was happening in front of me. But then when the footage eventually comes out in the campaign, and I can't watch it because it's too hard for me to watch, even though I'm the one who filmed it. So I think there's a lot of my brain, as all of our brains will do, is doing some work behind the scenes for me to sort of shut out what's happening so that I can get that footage and get out. But the second I take a moment with those animals, that all goes away.
I imagine. It would absolutely break me. I don't know how you do it, but my husband Brody used to edit a lot of the footage for like the Cube of Truth and that sort of thing. And he said to me, you do just get disconnected and desensitized and numb. You can be cutting slaughterhouse footage and have no reaction when you've done so much of it. Yes. So I can understand how 100%. That happens.
I'm yet to actually be able to do that.
Me too.
I can't cut off. I do a lot of footage editing, and I have to get up and walk away so many times because I have to protect my own self. Yes. But just one thing, just slightly segueing a bit, because you mentioned Jamie the rooster. And I don't know if you saw Michelle from Happily Heifer After has just rescued a little girl hen who was on her back. And underneath a cage, she'd fallen out, and Michelle got her out. And I just saw today, and I don't want to tear up on camera, I promise I won't, but I saw her taking her first steps outside, and I just lost it this morning. It was it was the most beautiful thing to see this once traumatized hen now being out and just enjoying life and learning what life is really about. Now, I apologise, Mackenzie, I did cut you off.
No, that's okay. It was lovely to hear that story, and I saw that footage as well.
Hey everyone, a quick break to tell you about an event you absolutely won't want to miss.
The Animal Rights Forum is back in 2026, the nation's premier animal protection conference that's been uniting advocates since 2009.
The two-day conference is on the 21st and 22nd of February at the Sydney Masonic Centre.
Expect an inspiring weekend of workshops, panels and presentations from leading animal rights activists and organisations.
The Animal Justice Awards ceremony is happening on the Saturday night, where we'll be presenting 7 award categories and $32,000 in grants.
For all the details and tickets, head to the link in our show notes.
I was just going to ask you to share a little bit more about Jamie's story, because you mentioned Jamie the rooster. And I guess it sort of fits in with our next question, which is about, you've rescued hundreds of animals from these facilities. How do you kind of determine when to intervene? And you mentioned that Jamie was on his back. Was that one of those moments where you just intervened?
Yeah. So normally we try not to do rescues if we don't have homes, because sanctuaries are so full. Everyone's at capacity, and if I was going to do it constantly, if I could rescue every single time I would go there, I would be at the sanctuary's door like every week with a new animal. So there have been times when we have... Obviously, there's cruelty every time you're there. There's something awful going on, but we haven't been able to rescue every time. Jamie is very much thanks to the person that I was with. Now I'm going to get emotional.
Aww. Take your time.
Yeah. I was actually trained in the rescue space by Catherine from New South Wales Hen Rescue. She taught me everything. She showed me the ropes for years, and she has this saying, which is, it's not even an emotional saying, but yeah, is if when in doubt, get them out. And I always said to her, like, well, I'm always in doubt. Like, how am I supposed to? Yeah. But yeah, this was one of those moments where, like, I definitely heard her voice in my head, because that night was supposed to be a really quick night, where we were just driving there. I was going to go in, get a 5-second shot of a dead chicken for a video that I was making. And the person I was with pointed out, we'd been looking in every shed, and there was no bodies, which was really unusual, because this particular place, there's always dead bodies in the front of the shed. And I was just about to leave and thought, okay, we'll have to come back another night. And the person I was with pointed out these feet sticking in the air, and he's like, there's a dead one. And as I walked toward him, he started flailing about, and he was on his back and in terrible condition. And I filmed him. I spent some time with him. I flipped him back over, put him down, and just thought, okay, well, we're leaving now, and I'll just have to just cry about this later and get through it and just move on. But the person I was with was like, well, we're going to take him, aren't we? We can't just leave him there. I was like, we don't have a home. And they're like, just take him. And I'm like, oh God. Because it's not something that is...
You're breaking your own rule.
It's a rule.
Yeah.
It is a rule. And it's not a rule that you want to be, in this work, you don't want to be that person that does do that often. It's a little bit, it can be irresponsible, because if you don't have a home and you don't have the capacity to look after them either, it can end up being a very difficult situation. I've been in situations where I've gone to places, it's been horrible, I have not had a home, and I've said to the animal, and I used to say this at every single place I went to, but the more you do it, the more that this is not possible. But I used to say, I'm sorry, I can't take anyone tonight, but I promise I'll be back. And I would always make sure that I would go back, even if it was 6 months later. I made that promise to them. I would find a home, and once I got a home, I would go back and do a rescue. And you think in the moment, you're like, oh shit, what have I done? When we were carrying Jamie back to the car, I was like, oh my, because I'd never done that before. I'd never taken someone when I didn't have a home, and I was like, shit, I'm going to have to call Catherine. Oh, Catherine's going to be like, oh no, and then, oh, maybe someone else will take him. And I just was so like, oh, fuck, what have I done? But she's amazing. Like, we looked after him for a really long time. We thought he was a girl at first, and we kind of were like, well, he's ours, like, we get to keep him. But she was really good about it. When I messaged her at like 2 a.m, I'm like, look, I did a thing, and look, I'm not saying I'm not going to put him on you. I'm just letting you know that I just did this thing, and she's always comes back like, no, I'm so glad you saved them. Like, you did the right thing.
I like that.
Deal with it later.
I did a thing.
Oops, I did a thing. But I would love to hear a little bit more about Jamie's story, because I know that you like hand raised him in your home with your cats and other animals, and he was part of the family.
Yeah.
And then he did go and live with Catherine when you found out he was a rooster, correct?
Yeah, not straight away.
Yeah.
We still tried to keep him as long as we could. But yeah, when we first brought him home, he was obviously in a very bad way. So we had to book him in for surgery because he had wounds on the back of his legs from like pressure wounds from being so heavy and sitting in the shed for 6 to 8 weeks. So there was a lot of rehab with him, and daily bandaging and medication, and it is very hard looking after a broiler, but it is so rewarding. He's the best thing that happened to us. Like, my friend told me like don't go rescuing your broiler because they're gonna break your heart, and I was like yeah it'll be fine. But she was so right. They are so beautiful. They're so cuddly. They're like puppy dogs. Like you said, he was hanging out with my cats. My cat Wednesday hates everyone. Well, hates every animal. Normally, like if we've got a piglet in the house or ducks or any animal that we bring home, and they're being, suffering, she just looks at them like they're the scum of the earth. But for some reason, Jamie, she loved him, and they would just sit together all the time. Oh, she loved him so much. And he really became part of the family. We moved house. The house we were living in before had just all gravel, so we moved house, and he had a yard with grass, and he'd follow us around everywhere. He loved being sung to, and he loved Delta Goodrum, and he loved Sabrina Carpenter. And I'm not making this up. We
won't hold that against
you. Because there would be some songs that like he would peck at me and not stop until I'd start singing to him, and then he would relax. And there was just some songs that he loved and some songs that he didn't like.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
And you're an amazing singer, Sophie. Some people might not know that. But I remember seeing the videos on your Instagram after you rescued him, and you were singing to him, and it's so sweet. It just melts your heart.
Yeah.
Well, I think people don't realise that animals respond to music and singing so much. There's a friend of mine who's in the States who I always say he's me on steroids. He's an animal rescuer. He's an amazing guitarist. He's an incredible singer, and he has all these rescue animals. His name's Christopher Amoruso, so if anyone wants to look him up, please do. He is incredible.
Yeah.
He's on my bucket list is getting over there finally to go and jam with him.
Animals, they love music. And they respond to it. Yeah.
Well, I know my own rescue cat, Sir Tom, who sadly passed away a few years back. Whenever I'd pick up my guitar and start playing, he would run from wherever he was and sit beside me, to the point where I had to actually buy him a guitar chair.
Aww.
So he could come and sit right beside me, and while I was playing. And
so sweet.
I miss that so much. I will play and I'll always look for him.
Yeah, Wednesday does the same thing. When I play piano, she'll come up and sit next to me.
Just bringing us back a little bit to some of your rescues. You've rescued hundreds of animals from these places, and I've heard Jamie's story a lot, but are there any other animals or rescues that have like really stuck with you or connected with you more than some others?
My first thought goes to like a really negative one. But there's ones that have affected me because of just how awful the conditions were and that they didn't make it. And I can't even talk about those ones because I can't actually post. That project is from years ago. I still can't post about it for some reasons. But eventually you'll hear that story. But oh gosh, there's so many. With hens, there's like literally hundreds and hundreds, so it's very hard to pinpoint.
Has it been mainly hens that you've been doing, or what other?
For the
animals?
first few years, it was only hens, and then I started. I think the next one was. I think there were some ducks in the beginning as well, and then moved on to pigs. Rescuing Henry, the sheep, was pretty special because he was my first like really big animal that we rescued, and we had to carry, myself and Harley had to carry him, and he was pretty heavy for a really long time because he had a broken leg. He's also no longer with us, but that was a really special rescue because I just couldn't believe that we had done it. When we put him in the boot, we just looked at him and just looked at each other and hugged each other, and it was just so like beautiful, like that we were like, oh my God, we did it, like he's here in this boot and now we get to take him to his forever home. And it's really hard to pinpoint one that stands out because I do remember like every single one, or at least that's like comes into my care first. In the first few years, it was helping people with rescues, and the animals would go that night to wherever they were going to, and I would go home. But now we do both sides, so bringing them home and getting to know them and doing the rehab and getting them well enough before we take them to the sanctuary. So like we develop relationships with them, and they're also like individual and just amazing. So it's too hard to pick one, to be honest.
I always say that when you rescue an animal and you've created a bond with that animal, and even if they do go to another home to be looked after, they're still part of you.
Yeah.
You never forget them. And, it's, I guess that's just that thing about, the rescue, getting in, getting them to trust you and, respond to you, and then you do have to let them go, which is really difficult.
I've done a lot of street cat rescue, and my favorite part is finding them like just the absolutely most perfect home. And I have adopters who even 2 years later still send me photo updates all the time about how they're going. One who I rescued earlier this year, and he was rehomed a couple of months ago. Every time his new mum messages me, she's always like, hello, first mum.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
It's so sweet.
And then, of course, you get the people who are foster failures.
Well, I was
I've got 3 of those.
I can't do fostering cats because they would all be failures, and then I wouldn't be. I mean, I should put that aside because I know that like fostering cats is important work, and it's selfish of me to just not do that because I know I'm going to fail. But we failed Wilson. He wasn't supposed to. We rescued him from a car park, and I said like no to my partner, we're just rescuing him, and then I'm going to find him a home. But when you develop the bond, the bond was too strong, and I couldn't. So he's with us forever now.
So what have been the most meaningful or also unexpected responses to the stories that you've had, that you've shared online?
I think receiving comments, because the way that I share things is very individual, based on like one particular animal and their story each time. It's always nice to get comments of like back again to Jamie, getting a lot of people saying like, that's it, I'm never eating chicken again, because they were able to see what a chicken actually is capable of, how beautiful they are. But what I get even more so than that means so much to me is it's hearing that I've inspired other people to start doing activism or to start doing rescues and investigations in their states, or even in their countries. That's very, very special. And I've had people message me and decide to tell me years later and say, oh, by the way, you made me vegan like years ago from all of your videos. So thanks for that. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell me? So yeah, that's really nice. But I think a lot of the response I get is mainly activists and them wanting to go out and do the same thing or their own forms of activism because of what they've seen from my work, which is really lovely. Yeah.
This isn't on the script, but Zoe Rosenberg in the US it has just been convicted after rescuing 4 chickens from a slaughterhouse. And I guess it just brings to light how risky the work that you do is to investigate and liberate animals from these facilities. So I guess, is that ever in your mind, the fact that you're putting your own freedom at stake for exposing what happens to animals?
It's in my mind in the sense that I know the risks, but it's never on my mind ever, when I'm on my way to a place or when I'm there, or it's never on my mind in the sense that I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much at risk here, what am I doing, should I really be doing this? That's never a thing. It's just, it has to be done. I know what the risks are. I'm okay with that. But it's obviously it's a scary thought, having your freedom. Well, yeah. Like Zoe has been saying, is that nothing, even though she's in an awful situation right now, it doesn't compare to what the animals are going through. But yeah, it is a scary thought to know that you could be fined hundreds of thousands of dollars, that you could go to jail, that you could lose a lot, or even the dangers of actually being there at night is if there's if there's a dog loose in the property, that's scary. If there's there've been times where we've had to bolt and we're getting a car's come down, there's a flashlight, there's people looking for you. It is risky, and but it's not, it's just not something that would stop me. It's amazing.
And I think maybe it's just an indication to everyone as well that there is a lot of preparation and training that goes into it. Like you said, you learnt the ropes from Catherine. You don't just turn up at a farm and jump the fence. There's a lot of preparation to make sure that you're mitigating risks to yourself.
I think this is the thing. There's a lot of people who think they see the work that you do. They see the work that Chris does at Farm Animal Transparency. And I think some people think it's easy. But I think I like when they put the behind the scenes videos out. Like Joey's been doing a lot of that, Chris has done that, and they show just how incredibly difficult it is. So I do hope people who are listening in and thinking, oh, hey, I could do that, please don't. Unless you are fully prepared and know exactly what you're up against, please do not try and do this, because you will end up, number one, either in trouble or severely hurt.
Yes, I spent years learning the ropes from other people, and I learned every role that there was, and I spent a very long time doing it quietly in the background, helping other people, and then when I decided I finally felt ready to start doing this on my own, I still had someone come with me and just be there to I made all of the decisions, I did all the prep, and they were there to sort of, if I did need help, to help me with that. And the same with slaughterhouse investigations. I only started doing that slaughterhouse work, actually really being involved in it for the Shut Down Slaughterhouses campaign. And I don't think would, I have actually, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't go and do an install by myself. Like, I still have a lot to learn with that. It's serious. It's not, and it's the prep, but then when you come home, especially as well if you're doing a rescue, it's really exhausting. You come home at like 4 a.m, 5 a.m, then you've got to look after the animals, or even if you're not looking after the animals, you've got to catch up on your sleep, the things that you've just witnessed, and it spills over into the next couple of days. Like, it's, or forever, really. It's not lighthearted work. When people first come on board that are new, I let them know of all of the risks that are involved, and I not to scare them away, but I really do like make sure that they're comfortable with what they're getting into. Some people have started and then after their first time they're like, actually that's not for me, I'm not coming back. Other people, they stick with it, and it's definitely you guys, well, not you guys, but people see the final product on social media of what's been done, but they don't understand that there's also the financial side of it. It's actually a very expensive form of activism as well.
Well, you think the cameras, the mounts, the gear, and sometimes you can't retrieve the cameras that you've put in there because it's too dangerous. And
petrol driving to and from these places that are hours away.
Yes, flights, and then if you do bring a rescue home, there's surgeries and medications and things. And my partner and I have actually not done much activism at all this year because we went so hard with that kind of work, and we didn't really have the stability to carry it out. We were just falling over ourselves constantly, and we really had to take a step back this year and focus on the regular person work to get ourselves back to a stable position where we can do this work sustainably and forever, because it's not, you really need a secure, for me, I really need a secure base to allow me to go out and do that work. I think that's a very responsible thing to do, is make sure that you're in a position, as if you do get caught, there's legal costs, there's a lot of things to think about. Yeah,
I think that's the thing. You need to have all those backups. But you've been doing this for over 6 years of the investigative work. So what has had the most impact on you?
That's a good question. I'll need a moment to think about that. The most impact, like negatively or just in general?
Anyway,
I feel like this might be more of a somber kind of question.
Because it's sort of part of, and this is something that all activists need to take in mind on board, is their mental health. So yes, it would be the negative aspects that you've brought along with you that you've had to deal with. And I think the majority of activists don't look after their mental health. I put my hand up to say I'm a shining light, horrible light of that. So what's had the most impact on you, and kind of how have you dealt with it?
I would say 2 things. One, it's the one that I can't fully talk about yet because I haven't been able to release anything. But it was the worst place I've ever been to, and it's definitely, so I have been diagnosed with PTSD, not in it's very like particular experience based, but this place in particular, I still have dreams that all the time that I'm there, and there was an animal on one of the nights that we went who was stuck. They had a body part of theirs stuck in the floor in a hole, and I don't know how long they had been there for, but they were so swollen, and we were trying to get them out for so long. And normally I'm pretty like calm in those situations, but I just was like bawling my eyes out. And at one point I thought, I'm just going to take this whole piece of floor out, and we're going to carry the piece of floor all the way out, and we have to walk past the house. And it's a very, very scary place. I hate this place so much. But we got them out eventually, and they died that night. But I cannot get her out of my head, because she was in so much pain and crying. And there were nights around that time that we were still going back and investigating, that my dreams were so vivid that if I woke up the next day and told you about my dream and you said to me, no, that was real, we went last night, I would believe you. I would be like, oh, okay, so that wasn't a dream. And that place is going to haunt me forever. And you'll see one day why. The other one, I didn't have anything to do with the investigation, but Olivia, she's really, she's affected everyone, I think. But seeing what happened to her, she was raped by Bradley O'Reilly in her cell stall, that triggered something in my brain. Something switched off, and I was numb for like a whole year. I couldn't cry, and I cry a lot. I couldn't feel anything because I became very involved in trying to get her and rescue her and get her out of that place. I became very involved in talking to politicians about the laws and things. I like dedicated a lot to that situation, just from the horrific video that we all saw on 7:30 ABC, was it?
I can't remember who
I think
aired
it
it.
was ABC,
That I think will stick with. I think that's going to stick with everyone. Forever.
That's probably the hardest part to come to terms with for me is how many times has this happened?
Yeah,
and it hasn't been captured on camera.
Yeah,
we're just. I was going to say fortunate. I guess we are fortunate that it was caught on camera.
Yes.
Because otherwise people wouldn't know that this type of thing can happen.
Yeah.
And it's probably a lot more common than people would like to believe.
Yes.
What I'm most concerned about with is that this guy's going to get off.
I know.
This absolute scum of the earth is going to get off because they're going to go, oh, we can't allow that footage because it was illegally obtained. And that is the part that, like, the whole horrific part for poor Olivia is one part, but for me this part is just as horrific if he gets away with what he's done because of some technicality. Even
bigger injustice.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the court case earlier last week for it, and the whole 2 days, Olivia wasn't mentioned at all. I think she was brought up finally once, not by her name or anything, by the prosecutor when they were doing their submission at the end, to basically say to the magistrate, this is everything that's happened, this is why it's wrong, this is why you need to convict this guy. And because the bestiality charge actually has nothing to do with animal abuse or animals. It's a shame-based law. The law is about that, you had raped, but you had intercourse with an animal, and that is dirty and weird and not normal, and that is that's what you're getting charged for. It has nothing to do with the animal. It's themselves. And I think just that whole situation, the reason that it sort of like flicked some switch in my head and I wasn't able to like feel anything for so long is because I thought, if I break down and cry at any moment or start to feel like we're not going to get her, then like it's like, what if I don't know, I just felt like I had to just be like, no, we're getting her, it's fine, like, we're going to rescue her. And everyone in the group chats were like, oh, what if they've killed her, what if this, that? And I was like, no, like, we're getting her. And it kind of just, but then we couldn't save her, and it just stayed that way. I just didn't get my emotions back for a really long time.
That's
I think
tough.
those two events have
Totally understandable. And I guess it brings us to, like, how do you take care of yourself emotionally between investigations?
So in general, I have a pretty good, like, self-care routine. I've had a pretty good one for a while, actually, since I have gone on medication for ADHD. That before, everything was kind of in shambles. Obviously, this isn't, not everyone can go and do that or has ADHD, but that has helped me be able to stick with routines. So every day I do meditation, yoga, journaling, and I read. I do that every single morning, and that really helps. I think also having really good people around you that are there for you when you need to talk about it. Having a good team is really important. But then when we do a rescue or an investigation, that it does go out the window. You're really tired, you're on the road, and then you've got this animals in your home, and it does get really chaotic. Like, we've had, a piglet in our carpeted room. There's shit all over the floor. We've had ducks in the bathroom with shit all over the walls. Where we had to have a heater on 24/7 for 3 weeks, and our electricity bill was so high because we had these baby ducks, and all of that goes out the window. The self-care, but I have those tools to go back to when things do calm down. So I think, that really helps. Yeah.
It's so amazing to hear that you have a good self-care routine. I'm very glad.
And this is the thing. Everybody should have one.
Yes.
I didn't, but I do now. Well, I have a sort of better one. But for any activists out there listening in, please get your self-care happening.
Yes.
It's as important as doing activism, because there's no use if you fall over, and we've seen so many activists fall over because they haven't done self-care. So if you don't do self-care, you are letting the animals down.
Well, you burn out. You have to think of it in a sustainable, long-term.
Yep.
And you can't be at every activism event.
Yes.
You cannot be at every rescue. You cannot be, and I'm preaching to myself here. You can't do everything 24/7. You need to have you time, whether you play guitar, whether you journal, whether you just go for walks in the bush. You need to take that time out. So I can't stress that more.
Ayanthi, I'm pretty sure it was Ayanthi, she told me a while ago, and it's always stuck with me, because I have a big problem when I come back from rescues, or actually no, the problem is when I don't come back with rescues, or even just all the ones that we have to leave behind. I don't like coming back and getting into my warm bed. I hate having a nice shower. I hate looking after myself after a night out, which is really unhealthy, I know, because I feel so guilty. There have been nights where I have contemplated going out, especially in winter, and sleeping on my driveway, because I'm like, well, why do the pigs get to why don't the pigs get to have this comfort? Why should I go home to this, beautiful safe bed? That's not fair. And then Ayanthi said to me once, but you're an animal too, which really touched me, because she's like, well, you have to look after yourself as well. You're an animal as well, and all animals deserve, to to feel safe and loved. And if you can't look after yourself, and that you can't go out and do the work, you know, like I think it's like us taking a break this year, it's not 100% a break, but us really stepping back to work on saving money and getting to a better position has been really difficult for me, because it's just in my nature to keep going and doing the activism. But I had to realize that it's the responsible thing to do. It's the right thing to do by the animals, to get yourself in order first and to look after yourself, whether that is just from the morning routine that I have or getting yourself in a better position so that you can do it long term, because the animals can't be saved, whether you do outreach, vigils, whatever the form of activism is, if you're not okay. Like
you have to be on your game. And you mentioned Ianthe, and we love Ianthe. She's quite amazing. I'm actually doing a talk with her at the Animal Rights Forum about self-care. And
good.
I'm the before case, and then she's going to tell everybody how
to avoid that.
What I should have done.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's such a good idea.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people can learn from what I did wrong, but they're going to learn so much from Ianthe about how to deal with all trauma, how to deal with, what we see, and then get those calming mechanisms. So it'll be a really, I think I'll be about 10 minutes, and Ianthe's going to be, the rest of the time. I can't
wait to watch that.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
And Sophie, I think you're a great example as well of what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should be really proud of that.
Thank you. I wasn't for a while. It was, and it's very, it's kind of a thing with activists where we, well, for me at least, and I know a couple of others where we pretend like, oh no, like I'm fine, like this work doesn't affect me. It affects everyone. It's even if you don't think it's affecting you, it's probably affecting you subconsciously in other ways. So it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to take a break. And I'm
smiling because I was that person. So but we won't go there. We've covered that before. But I mean, this has really been an eye-opening, insight into rescue, into what you do, and the whole filming and everything that you go through. But what do you wish more people understood about the animals that you rescue?
Just how beautiful they are. Just that they really are individuals. They have such different personalities, and I've rescued hundreds of them, and no two have been the same. And that they suffer immensely, that they are so trusting as well. Even some of them that are terrified, like if you just give them some time in those places, they're just so curious and trusting and beautiful despite all of the things that have been done to them. And I think that is also we should aspire to be more like them. They do, they are their own advocates. They do scream, they do try to get away, they thrash, they do speak up for themselves in those places, especially at the end. But at the same time, given the opportunity to have a nice moment, they will still open up to humans. I look the same, I've got the same physical form as the people that come in and abuse them, but they are still able to open their hearts up to me when I'm there with them. And I just wish people could, it's just, that cognitive dissonance, it's really hard to break. I've got people who watch all my stories, I've got people in my family who still aren't vegan, and they know exactly what happens, and they've come and spent time with the animals. I just wish people could just see them for who they really are.
Yeah. How do you have hope for a world free from animal exploitation when you have seen the absolute worst of humanity, like these pits of hell, basically? I'm asking this because I struggle to see a positive future sometimes.
I saw that question and I went, yeah, that could be coming from me.
Yes, do I? Maybe the question should be, do you have hope?
Yeah.
Right now is really difficult because politically and in the legal system, what we're seeing, like Farm Transparency Project go through and the precedents that have come in place, it almost is feeling like we're kind of taking a step back. I don't want to sound like so negative, but I think we just need more people to do it, and that can be anything. It does not have to, you don't have to come out on rescues, you don't even have to do street outreach, like anything. There's so many different ways of doing it, but that didn't even answer the question.
Just being more bold in our advocacy. I guess there are a lot of people who are vegan, but maybe they don't feel like they need to do any more personally in terms of encouraging other people or doing any kind of activism.
I think and I know that there will be people possibly listening who will disagree with me, but I think as vegans, as ethical vegans, we all should be doing some form of activism. Now, it doesn't matter if you are just serving vegan meals to non-vegans or whether you're going out and doing DXE or you're doing, the Joey Carbstrons, the Chris Delforce and the stuff that you're doing. But everybody needs to step up at some point and be doing something. And there are behind the scenes ways that people can be doing stuff. I've actually written like 45 things that people can do for if they don't have much time. So, I should put that list up.
We'll put it in the show notes.
But I think the other thing we need to do as well as vegans and animal rights activists is start to celebrate more. Start to celebrate the wins more. We've got to remember that I think it's Norway who's just banned fur farming. We have got most of the major shoe suppliers to drop kangaroo leather. And there's so many other wins that we've had that we tend to just forget about the wins and concentrate on the things that we're not getting done. But if we start celebrating those wins more, people will start to look and they'll start to listen and go, hey, things are changing and there is hope for the future.
And building that community, I would say, as well, so that you can inspire and reinvigorate each other. And that's the whole reason that we started this podcast as well, because Rick and I were both feeling like the movement's all disconnected and we all could do with a little bit of inspiration and uplifting and remember what we're all here for and how many other people think just like us and care just as much as us.
I mean, you guys have just made me feel more hopeful, so that's you guys are the answer to
we got this together.
I think also there are the events that happen that aren't confrontational. So the Animal Rights March. We need as many people there as possible. Yes, we had a good Animal Rights March, and I've got to say I very proudly carried the banner with both of you and two other amazing activists. It actually was one of the highlights of my activism career to be actually marching with that banner.
Me too.
But then there are other things like Pavel does his activities in the park. Tristan does his runs and the vegan runners. There's so many people doing these community things that people should get more involved in. And then let's build our vegan community and again become strong. Because I think since COVID, a lot of people have dropped away, and understandably in some cases, and they feel despondent. But I think now is the time that we all need to come back together, stop the infighting, because the infighting is what is going to break this whole movement down. So you don't have to agree with what everybody does, but you don't have to fight and bitch about it. Before COVID, up in Queensland, there were a number of groups. So I was AJP and Coast to Coast Animal Friends, and we had Animal Liberation. We had a whole lot of other groups. Now, if Coast to Coast held an event, all the other groups came along to support. And then if some Animal Liberation had an event, we all went and supported them. We all need to get out and do that. We need to support every single event that we can without burning out. Take it easy, but find the ones that you can do, but also find the community events, make friends. There's so many good vegans out there to make friends with.
Yep.
You know?
I've started a sentence in my head and then said it out loud halfway through. I've got a good friend, Sabrina, and Sabrina's sassy cat, and she is a huge support in the background. Like, just an example of, I mean, she does a lot. She does so much, but there are so many things that you can do within your community to help each other so that you don't burn out. She will take my rescue animals to the vets for me. If I've got to go to work, she'll go and pick them up and take them. And she is like a soundboard. She's there for me to like just cry to and all of that. And that, like, I always say to her, I can't actually do this work without you. And my amazing partner as well, he goes through all of it with me. But like, even just outside of going to events and things, I was going through my treasure chest the other day of things from my childhood, and I started like connecting all these dots of little things that along the way that actually went into my subconscious and made me vegan, I reckon, and an activist. And it's I think a good example of even like artists and writers, and if you have like a particular talent or a skill, to use that as well, because I'm rereading Animal Farm at the moment, which I know has got nothing to do actually with veganism, but rereading it now, I read it in high school, and it's like it's pretty
plain as day.
Sorry?
It's plain as day.
Yeah. And reading it going, that, like, I wonder if that sunk in my mind back then, even though I was a teenager. I wasn't thinking, too much about that stuff. Also, growing up watching, like, Fern Gully, like, those movies. So, just all these things sort of, I think, add to, like, this point system. And if you have, like, a special thing that you like to do, like, if you like to write stories, things like that, you can use that. If that's the capacity that you have is to do that, that could make someone go vegan. That could make someone become an activist. So
simple poetry.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be like this huge, volume of work. It just, 5 verses of poetry could be enough to turn one person.
Change someone's life.
Exactly. And if you change one person, they can change 2 people, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone listening feels a little bit more positive and like they have the power to, make a positive change in the world in whatever way they can. Just plant those little seeds. And let's all create a vegan future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now,
we can do it.
Sophie, how can people get in touch with you or learn more about the work that you've been doing?
I'm mostly just on Instagram, which is at the Sophie Mouse.
And we'll put that in the show notes so people can see.
So that's where I post everything, and where I'm I try to be responsive. I'm actually pretty bad at getting back to the people, just my brain, but that's where you can find me. And
well, thank you so much. It's been a tough conversation because what you have exposed and had to witness personally is, I guess, hard for a lot of us to comprehend. Like, I struggle even to see the footage, let alone to think about be the one actually there. But I think it's very insightful for everyone, and so we greatly appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys inspire me as well, so it's really thank you so much.
It's absolutely our pleasure. I remember when we saw you do your talk at the Animal Rights March, and I just said to Mackenzie, we have to get her on.
I think we were both in tears.
Yeah, we'd been following you for ages, and I just said, this is it, we have to get her. This is the sign that she has to be here. So I'm very, very proud, and I know Mackenzie is, that you're our final guest of season 2. We couldn't have asked for a better guest to wrap up season 2. So
that
thank
means
you
so much to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome, and we greatly appreciate everything that you do.
Likewise.
So folks, that brings us to the end of another wonderful roller coaster ride of the Vegan Compass podcast. We thank Sophie so much. We thank all our guests who have been with us for the first 2 seasons of the Vegan Compass podcast. As Mackenzie said at the beginning, we will be back again next year after February, after the Animal Rights Forum wraps up. We will be starting with season 3, and we've already got some really great guests lined up for season 3. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. Get to the Animal Rights Forum if you can. That's February 21, 22. Mackenzie and I are going to be there. Sophie's going to be there, and quite a few others that you've seen here on the podcast. So we look forward to connecting with you all again in 2026. Oh, that's a bit scary. See you all later.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change.
Be sure to follow us on social media at @thevegancompass_podcast. See you next time.